What's up guys, it's Dono. In this video I'm going to be talking about how to use rhymes a little bit better. So complex rhyme, like multi-syllable rhyme, is one of the more complex things that a rapper can master. However, while you're developing these skills to use more rhyming, you also want to make sure that you're using rhyme in a way that makes sense. There's a lot of times where you'll hear like these really complex sounding verses, but if you break down the lyrics, it just doesn't sound that clear. Now, for some people, that's exactly what they want to do. They're trying to make a verse that just rhymes really well, and they're not really trying to put a message across. But I also know for a lot of you that are rapping, you're trying to, get messages across. So I wanted to cover a few things to make sure that your rhymes don't overpower your verse and you can still get a clear message. So it's pretty easy once you start a verse, especially if you're trying to stick with a scheme, where the first couple lines maybe your rhymes are good, and then as it goes on you're trying to hold the scheme and it kind of falls apart. Let me give you a quick example. I'm on top, sitting where the pinnacle is. You get cut down, I'm not talking minimalist. Start missing the mix of all your integral bits and switch the tone till it hits a pivotal pitch. Some of you might have been like, what? Like, that was actually pretty good, I like that. But the thing is, if we get down and start breaking it apart, some of the rhymes don't really make sense. It rhymes well, but the message isn't there and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The first two lines actually came out, fairly coherent, pretty good. I'm on top, sitting where the pinnacle is. You get cut down, I'm not talking minimalist. But after that, it starts losing steam pretty fast. Start missing the mix of all your integral bits and switch the tone till it hits a pivotal pitch. Missing the mix of your integral bits? Like, what does that mean? I mean, I guess in the context of the lines before, it could maybe mean something about internal organs or something like that, but it's kind of a stretch. And then the next line talks about hitting a tone and a pivotal pitch. Like, what's a pivotal pitch? Those are two words that put together don't make any sense. This is exactly the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. It doesn't mean anything, it just rhymes. Now, I'm not saying that, you have to make sure that your message is perfect and you always have a message. If you just want to rhyme, that's totally fine. I just get a little bit, sick of hearing people be like, oh no, I wrote these bars and like they're just really deep and complex, and like, no, they're not. They don't make any sense. Like, you just wanted to rhyme, and that's totally okay if that's what you're trying to do, but don't pretend that your like obscure, awkward language, it really has some deep meaning underneath it. If your audience can't pick it up, I've said this in other videos, if they can't pick it up, it doesn't matter. That's just one quick example of how your rhyming can kind of overpower your verse. With a little bit more thought and effort, you can usually make something that fits the scheme just as well, using slant rhymes and all that stuff, which you can find in my other videos. You can usually make a little bit more sense without throwing your verse off. All right, so let's break it down even more. So the problem with the rhymes that don't make a lot of sense is that you're trying to make it rhyme and you're trying to make it fit still, but sometimes it just gets stretched so far. Like if we think about the earlier example, integral bits, like that's not a phrase that you would ever hear naturally. That's not the same as using uncommon words. You can use stuff that's not necessarily common, but when you start combining words in a way that it sounds unnatural, it's going to break down the message. Going along on that same note, you can also create phrasing that, even though it sounds kind of natural, it doesn't actually make any sense. A couple examples, like broken tense. Sometimes they get like the tense out of order, take off an ing or as or something to make it rhyme. Another thing that happens a lot is just these phrases that technically mean what you want, but don't actually communicate correctly. Like, it still just sounds funky. Let me give you an example with just a couple lines out of a verse that I wrote years and years and years ago. Wanna bust his head till it cracks. My trust is dead. Kneel for wax. This is exactly the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Bust his head till it cracks is like saying smash the can until it's crushed. Saying I'm gonna bust it until it cracks is basically just repetitive. They're basically synonyms, right? I'm gonna fight until I'm in combat. Like, that doesn't make any sense, even though it rhymes really well with the other section in these lines. Also, going off that example, nil for wax, I don't even know what I was trying to say there. I have no idea what the point of that was, except that it rhymed. Although I'm sure at the time I was thinking, oh, this is complex because it's written out this way, blah, 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 blah. But I'm reading it like a couple years later and I don't even know what it means. So there's no way that my listeners picked up on it. That's exactly the kind of stuff that I'm advising that you at least think about. And that's really the main thrust of this video. When you're putting together your rhymes, as you start mastering these more complex rhyme patterns, pay attention to what you're actually saying. If you just want to rhyme, that's fine, but I know most of you want to communicate a message and have something with a little bit more meaning. So just pay attention to the way that you're putting these different things together. That's all for this video. As always, if you have any questions, throw them in the box below. I'll try to get to them as soon as I can. Beyond that, I've got a full 30-day course that you can check out. I have a link down in the description. I've also got a website, rapbetter.com. That's it. Keep practicing, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe so you can stay up to date on the videos. And if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, put them down in the comment box, and I'll get to them as quick as possible. See you guys.